Assalamu alaikum everyone. Today we will be discussing achalasia of the esophagus. On the importance scale, I'd say it's moderately important, considering that it's not mentioned in rank order, but it is present in our syllabus, and so it's important, in my opinion, to still look at it and not skip it. What happens in achalasia is that the lower esophageal sphincter becomes hypertonic, which means that it fails to relax in response to peristalsis. And there is a failure in the propagation of the esophageal contraction. And so therefore, there is a dilatation. The cause is unknown. And with the clinical presentation, we need to remember dysphagia. The dysphagia is intermittent at first and progressively becomes more severe. At the end, the dysphagia worsens to so much that there is nocturnal pulmonary aspiration. The dysphagia is worse for solids and is eased by drinking liquids, and it's also eased by standing or moving around because of the effect of gravity. This dysphagia is not associated with any heartburn, because the lower esophageal sphincter is so tightly closed that it prevents reflux. There may be chest pain due to esophageal spasm, and achalasia predisposes to squamous cell carcinoma, and CA esophagus is also something that we'll be looking at in another video. The important investigations to do are number one, endoscopy. You rule out the carcinoma of the cardia. So what happens is that at the cardia there is a carcinoma, and it mimics all of the signs and symptoms of achalasia, and so it is referred to as pseudoachalasia. And this is important to remember. Whenever a patient presents with achalasia, there are 2 or 3 things to remember. It could be carcinoma of the cardia, which has to be ruled out, and it could be due to Chagas disease. And we know that in Chagas disease, there is a similar presentation with dilatation of the esophagus and all of that. Then we're going to go for a barium swallow. In barium swallow, we have this really high yield presentation called the bird beak sign. It's sometimes there is something called a rat tail sign, and I just wanted to include this for the sake of completion. So what happens is there's a tapered lower end of the lower esophagus. In late disease, the esophagus dilates, is aperistaltic and food-filled. And so this is a picture that I found online. I'd like to give credit to the Wiley Online Library, and they've got this amazing image where this is your x-ray, and you can see how this part is totally constricted and this is slightly dilated, and they've put a bird's beak here so that you can see what they mean by bird beak sign. We also have a rat tail sign, and I found this picture online again, and I've put this, I've given credit to the person, to the source of this picture, and this seems to be like, it looks like a rat tail, and so this would be a rat tail sign. Then the last examination that we can do is manometry, and it will show us that there is high pressure at the lower esophageal sphincter since it does not relax. Now, moving on to the management. From a medical point of view, we can do an endoscopic forceful pneumatic dilation, which is you insert a balloon, which is 30 to 35 millimeter in diameter, and it is usually fluoroscopically guided, and it's positioned at the lower esophageal sphincter, and then you fill this balloon with air and you forcefully dilate the lower esophageal sphincter, and this improves the symptoms in about 80% of patients. A patient may require more than one dilation, but if the patient requires frequent dilatations, then refer to the surgery department. Botulinum toxin injection may be used, and this This is known to be beneficial, but relapse is common. Then there is a new, relatively newer technique called peroral endoscopic myotomy. And this, you use your device to enter the submucosa and go on to the muscular layer, and you perform your myotomy. And both pneumatic dilation and peroral endoscopic myotomy, they have a common complication, which is gastroesophageal reflux, which leads to severe esophagitis. And so patients who have been treated this way must be kept under observation to make sure that they do not develop severe esophagitis. At the end, just for the sake of completion, I've added the surgical procedure. We perform a Heller's myotomy plus a partial fundoplication anti-reflux procedure, and we give proton pump inhibitors post-op. So that was it for today. Thank you so much for listening.